Today's video, 5 more movies that you cannot find on DVD or Blu-ray.
We review old technology from games to old PCs, and don't forget the toys. Yeah, ancient electronics, we cover it all.
Hello guys. So my last 2 videos I did were pretty long. They were both over an hour. I'm taking a little bit break. I'm doing kind of a shorter video. I did a video, maybe like 2 years ago. I did a video on like movies. I think there were 5 movies you couldn't find on DVD or Blu-ray. So I figured I have more of these type of movies, so I figured I would do a follow-up, just a quick kind of a fun, easy video. And then I've got some more stuff planned. I'm going to do a series of video on the my other 486, the one that I kind of replaced with my right back build from my last video. That's going to be broken up to parts, so that might be a little bit longer. I'm going to be doing that, but I just wanted to take a break and do take a look at some of these movies. Before we do that, though, a couple things. I'm not omnipotent. I'm not all-knowing, so I might have a movie here, and it might be available on DVD or Blu-ray. So keep that in mind, but I did do some research, and with the exception of one of these movies, I couldn't find any of the other ones on any of the newer disc formats. The other thing I want to say is, if you're watching this in the future, these movies that I'm going to talk about may be available on DVD or Blu-ray. There's more movies coming out all the time. Actually, what I have in front of us right now is to illustrate that. I don't know if this one was in my last video, but she definitely was. It's a really awesome, over-the-top Italian post-apocalyptic film. As far as I know, this thing is still not available on DVD or Blu-ray, just VHS or Betamax. This guy here, very obscure horror movie, Memorial Valley Massacre, on Laserdisc. This movie, for a long time, was only available on, I think, VHS and Laserdisc, maybe Betamax, but the best way you could get it was Laserdisc, and somehow recently it was released on, I think, Blu-ray, maybe Blu-ray and DVD, but that's something I never thought I would see this movie released on any of the later formats. It's just so obscure, but it's just, there's a lot of weird obscure movies that they've been pumping out on Blu-ray recently. Really good and cool cover art. A lot higher standards than when they would release stuff on DVD that were always like budget releases. It's like they actually put effort into it. So I was surprised that this finally did come out and is now available on later formats. But I wanted to put these here just to illustrate that if you're watching this in the future, it might be available on newer formats or whatever you have in the future, hollow cubes, or everything's probably just streaming in the future. But anyways, just wanted to make that point. The other thing is, I'm not really counting movies that were released in other regions. I'm in the United States. I'm pretty much basing this video on if it was officially released in the United States. So, for instance, I believe, was released on DVD in, like, Germany, maybe? But from what I hear, the quality of that release, it's no better than the actual VHS. It's just like a straight rip of the VHS version onto a DVD. So it doesn't look any better. Maybe a tiny amount if you play it on like a DVD player through Component or something. Maybe it's a little more defined colors. I don't know, but basically it's the same. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so with all that out of the way, let's move on with the video and let's take a look at our first movie. Now the first movie here that we're going to show, it's kind of an exception. It's not, well, the first movie we're going to talk about here is Summer Camp Nightmare, and this, I almost didn't include this because this actually does have a DVD release, but it's very questionable. Now I know there's this thing where they do like movies on demand. I see this a lot on eBay where you can actually, like, if they're not movies that are being like officially pressed, but there's, I guess they're companies and they will they'll burn the movie onto a DVD-R. And I guess it's an officially licensed burn, and then maybe they'll have some like crappy cover art that they like photoshopped and they'll send it to you. I've actually ordered one of these before on a Blu-ray, and the quality was actually pretty good. Obviously, it's not the discs aren't going to last as long as the pressing. I mean, I guess because it's like licensed, maybe it's kind of official, but I don't know. It's kind of debatable. And I just wanted to make the point that you can find this movie on DVD in that format where it's kind of like a made-on-demand. I've actually seen a couple versions. One kind of looks official, but like the cover art is like really bad, and it was even like on Walmart's page, but it was out of stock. I don't know. It's a little bit murky and it's a little bit weird, so that's why I'm still going to kind of count this. The other reason is I couldn't find any more movies in my collection that met this criteria, so it would have been 4 movies you can't find on DVD or Blu-ray if I didn't include this, and that would have been a little bit weird. So we're just going to include this. So I guess the best way to say this is maybe the best 100% official version you can find this movie, as far as I know, would be like VHS or Laserdisc, with Laserdisc being obviously the cooler way to get it, better video quality and just better cover art and all. Now keep in mind, all these movies I'm going to talk about, most of them I watched some time ago, so I'm a little fuzzy on some of the details, but this movie is actually definitely worth watching. I'm not going to go too much into the plot of all these movies, but I will go over basically what they're about. Looking at this cover, you might think it is a horror movie. Summer Camp Nightmare, you see the woman laying, like, screaming. The guy with the gun's a little bit weird for her, but you might think it's just some kind of horror movie, and it's really, it is, but it isn't. It's more of a, like a drama, action drama. It's an interesting movie. Basically what the premise is, I believe this is 1987. So basically the premise of this movie is there's a summer camp for like little kids and teenagers, and one of the people attending it is really into communism and socialism. It's this guy here. He's kind of like a little fledgling Trotsky there. And basically what he does, the parents or the people running the camp, they're kind of, I don't know how to put it. It's been a while since I've seen this one, but they weren't like, I guess they're a little abusive. Anyways, long story short, this kid organizes like a socialist revolution at this summer camp. And of course, as socialist revolutions do, it gets way out of hand, people die, and it's interesting. If you're familiar with like the history of like the Russian Revolution and socialist revolutions and things like that, you might get a little bit more out of this. And I don't want to make it like this is like a big political movie where you have to be like a politico to enjoy it. You don't, but you get a little bit more out of it. It's very interesting. There's like a little kid, and they give them, they're basically teenagers, and they're just, it's out of control, and they're acting like they're like these revolutionaries, and like I said, like people get punished, and it's an interesting movie. I would recommend watching it. Here, dear Mom, the camp director is dead, the counselors are locked up, and the kids are out of control, having a wonderful time. So yeah, when you read that, it almost sounds like a tagline for like a comedy or something, but it is not a comedy, but it's a good movie. So yeah, I would definitely recommend tracking this one down. I can't comment on the quality of those made-on-demand DVDs I see on eBay, but this movie's definitely worth a watch. Alright, so let's move on to our next. Alright, so I'm cheating a little bit with this one because it's 3 movies, but it's the same series, so I'm counting it as one, and that is like the Thunder Warrior trilogy. We have Thunder Warrior 1, Thunder Warrior 2, and Thunder Warrior 3. And basically, at least as far as the first one goes, these are Rambo ripoffs. Well, at least this one is a Rambo ripoff. This is like a direct ripoff of First Blood. Basically, what the storyline is, this guy here, he's in all 3 of them. I believe his name is Mark Gregory. Mark Gregory, he's been in, you may know him, he's been in a couple other movies, nothing big, but like 80s, he was in like Escape from the Bronx and stuff like that. But yeah, basically he plays like a Native American, and there's a corporation, and it's like illegally mining or something. It's been a while on like native land, and it's like a sacred site, and he goes into town to the sheriff, and he has the treaty, and the sheriff of course ignores him, so he takes matters into his own hands. And then again, it's just like First Blood. He retreats into the mountains, and the sheriff of course can't let things go, and he organizes a posse, and they go after him. And it's just if you've seen First Blood, the first Rambo movie, you'll know the storyline of this exactly. And then we have 2 and 3, and the first one I'd say is the best one by far. 2 and 3 aren't bad. I don't fully remember them, but I think 2 he actually becomes a cop, and I think it has to do with him like rooting out like corruption. And I think it's mostly the same with Thunder Warrior 3. I don't remember if he's still a cop in the third one, but I think there's like mercenaries that show up, and they shoot up this town. They're entertaining, but yeah. And as far as I know, none of these have been released on anything except VHS. These didn't even get like a Laserdisc release. So best way you're going to see them is VHS, maybe Betamax. Maybe some other weird, obscure format, but no Laserdisc, no DVD, and no Blu-ray. Yeah, entertaining movies. At least the first one is worth a watch. The other two, nice cover art though. I always like this VHS cover art. The second one's got pretty good cover art too. Not so much with the third one. Of course, with the third one, they got real budgety here. So yeah, just slap on a picture of him doing a jump on the bike. Yeah, those are the Thunder Warrior movies. 3 of them. I'd still say at least the first one's worth. All right, back to Laserdisc. So this is Night Flyers. Where they're headed is no mystery. What's taking them there is. And I'm actually surprised this one doesn't have a release on another format. It's a pretty good science fiction movie. As far as I know, though, only Laserdisc and I think VHS, maybe Betamax, but the best way to view it would be Laserdisc. If you decide to look this up on eBay, you will see a DVD called Night Flyers, but that is as far as I know, unrelated TV series. So what you'll find on DVD that says Night Flyers is not the movie Night Flyers. So keep that in mind. I'm guessing it's probably some kind of licensing issue why this isn't currently available on DVD. Basically, from what I remember, it's a science fiction movie, and obviously it takes place in the future, and they're on a spaceship, and I forget the exact plot. There's a lot of mystery involved. Like the ship, I think, has like a weird AI. It has plans for the crew that the crew don't know about. It's something like that. Notable actors, I forget his name, but the guy that plays Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he's in the movie. You might also know him, I believe he's the voice of Shredder on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, so he's a main character in this movie. Yeah, but anyways, pretty good movie. Again, this is another movie I would recommend tracking down if you can. I don't know if it's ever been available to stream, but yeah, Night Flyers, Laserdisc, cool movie that is not on DVD or Blu-ray. Alright, so let's move on. Alright, another VHS. And this one I had no idea about. I actually found this one thrifting. I was at a yard sale, and this was there for like 50 cents, I think. And I was like, oh, that looks like a cool cover. And then I grabbed it and I looked it up, and this is only available on VHS. I didn't see, maybe Betamax, I didn't see any. I'm pretty sure it's not available on Laserdisc either. It has this cool like foil cover to it. And as you can see here, this is basically, and we have it right here. This might have been an X rental. Yeah, Be Kind. There we go. Be Kind Rewind. So it looks like this was an X rental. A fortune in diamonds in the hands of the world's most evil empire. But anyways, yeah, it looks like, well, it is an Indiana Jones ripoff. They were fairly popular in the 80s, trying to ride the coattails of Indiana Jones. And this seemingly has it all. It has an Indiana Jones type figure. He's got the hat, darkest Africa. There are, of course, Nazis trying to find these diamonds. I believe you also have like Chinese mafia in this, but I'm just going to tell you right now, it's a bad movie. So I think this is like an Italian production, and they've got like Italian guys playing very stereotypical Chinese men, from what I remember. I just don't think it's a movie that would get made these days, or at least released. And even if it did, it's just not a good movie. Everything else aside, it's just, I don't know. I thought this would be great, and it just was kind of weird and boring. I don't know. Maybe it steps into that it's so bad it's good. I'd probably have to rewatch it, but like I don't really want to rewatch it. But I was really disappointed in this movie, especially with that cool foil cover. But yeah, there we go. The Mines of Kilimanjaro. I'd say give it a pass. Not a very entertaining movie. All right, so now let's look at our last. Our last movie here is Future War, 1980X. This was a holy grail for a long time for me for my Laserdisc collection. I love Cold War stuff, especially like the 1980s Cold War goes hot, Third World War scenario stuff. And so this is, I believe the Laserdisc was only available in Japan, and this movie is only available on Laserdisc and VHS, and mostly only in Japan. I think Australia got a cut of this movie on VHS, but it's cut down and it's not even dubbed. There's just a little bit of English narration, but there is like content missing. And I believe it got released in Germany as well on VHS, but again, that version I think is even more cut down. So the only full true version uncut is the Japanese Laserdisc or VHS. Obviously the Laserdisc is going to be the best quality you can get of it. This is another one I don't see coming out anytime soon on DVD or Blu-ray. It's just, I don't know if it has to do with licensing. I know there's some history behind this movie. This was actually protested when it came out, or like boycotted by certain like mother associations in Japan, and I believe even the staff working on it. I guess at the time, again, I think this is 84, sometime in the early 80s this came out. The idea is they didn't want anime portraying like real world warfare. I believe there's a good YouTube video on the subject of this movie on online you can look at, but I know there was like a boycott of it, and it was just, I guess it was scaring children because they thought it was like a fun cartoon, and it was scaring kids, and mothers were getting angry. So I don't know. All I can say is, well, I'll start off on the Laserdisc itself. The art is outstanding, in my opinion. Now, I can't think of his name off the top of my head because he's a Japanese artist. I don't believe he's with us anymore, but he did a lot of like famous movie posters. He did a lot of the 90s era Godzilla movie art. I believe he did one of the versions for Goonies as well. Famous art, like famous like poster art. But this is like really, just for the art, I really like it. It's got the whole, this is very like East versus West Cold War here. Not a whole lot on the back. Sorry about the glare. This does, I'm not going to take it out of here, but it does open up. It's like a gatefold. This is not an easy Laserdisc to find. I believe even on VHS it's not easy to find. VHS might even be harder than the Laserdisc. It's also not cheap. I think I got a decent deal on this, and it's in like excellent condition. But this movie is not cheap to get a hold of. So the movie itself, I'm going to say I was a little disappointed. And overall it's great. It's probably, if you like anime, it's worth a watch, especially if you know Japanese. So I don't know Japanese, so a lot of it was lost on me, but I was expecting a lot more Third World War in a movie anime about the Third World War. And there is, some graphic battles that go on in here, but it's probably like 75% just talking and dialogue and, characters, and maybe 25% actual, like, depicting the battles. Now, maybe it was a bit of a problem with me because I don't know Japanese, so I was just pretty much fully just watching this as, like, visual medium, and I didn't really understand any of the dialogue. So, but I was just hoping for more action on the battlefield. There wasn't as much as I hoped. But other than that, it's still a good movie. It also wasn't as this is no gee, my mind's a blank. It's another famous anime. It's like something of the Fireflies, Night of the Fireflies. It's a depiction of the atomic bombings during World War II, and it's very graphic, and it just shows the brutality of war. And I was expecting more of that from this, and there's a little bit of it there. There's a part after, I believe, Tokyo gets nuked, and one of the main characters, she goes out of the subway, and there's bodies and stuff, and it's not quite what I was expecting. It's a little tamer than what I was expecting, and I personally would have liked more action. I would have liked to have seen what's going on the battlefield a little bit more than what's in here. But I do not regret picking this movie up. Still a great anime if you're into that. And like I said, even the art on here is just, in my opinion, is amazing. So that's it. That's 5 more movies that you cannot find on DVD or Blu-ray, at least as far as January 2023. So, what do you guys think of any of these films? Was I wrong about any of them, or are there any that are actually available on DVD or Blu-ray and I just didn't find them, or I didn't see? Let me know in the comments. And let me know what you think of any of these movies, if you enjoyed them or not. And I'll see you in the next video, and have a good one.